When 20 old-timers flopped at the bar dance, my niece, a marksman, fixed it quick. Then the chaos began. The Carter Tech annual party was supposed to be a night of laughter, fancy outfits, and lively banter. But as the clock struck 9, the floor dissolved into a tornado of missteps and awkward silences. The projector flickered, showcasing advanced schematics that puzzled even the most seasoned experts. Drinks spilled. Dancers stumbled. The rhythm was a mess of broken beats. Among the cacophony stood Valentina, the humble housekeeper with a knack for spotting problems like a hawk. She watched, her heart pounding in her chest, as seasoned techies scratched their heads and exchanged sharp glances. She felt the weight of their assumptions. Just a housekeeper, they thought. But she saw solutions hidden beneath their chaos. Suddenly, her niece Mia came into view, her posture tense, with sharp eyes and a steady aim. Mia had picked up on the unease. Valentina saw her niece's hand. Mia had saved many friendships and hearts with her steady aim, and now it seemed she was ready to take control of the evening. "Give me one shot," Mia said, excitement crackling in her voice. Valentina nodded, and in that split second, the whole room changed. Mia sprang into action, quick, sharp. With a twang, an arrow sped towards a tangle of wires hanging loosely from the display. The audience gasped, the sound piercing through the jazzy tune momentarily. The arrow cut through the air, striking true. A cascade of light erupted as the projector whirred back to life. The crowd roared. The sudden clarity ignited an electric atmosphere. As the tech executives erupted with applause, Richard Carter, the ambitious CEO, stepped forward, eyes glinting with intrigue. Valentina's heart raced. She had cracked the code. A housekeeper among the tech giants. Richard's attention felt like fire, a mix of shock and admiration, and she could barely keep her breathing steady. But as their rapport grew, it twisted into something complicated. Richard wrestled with his own doubts, caught between Valentina's brilliance and the whispers of the corporate world. He sometimes made it clear that he saw her as a cog in the machine rather than a shining star. Valentina felt a tightness forming in her chest. Could she stand overlooked and undervalued here where she once shone? With a heavy heart, Valentina considered walking away. The publicized support she initially embraced now felt like chains. Just as she weighed her choices, news arrived that shattered her confusion. A full scholarship for a master's in AI at Stanford. A golden opportunity. But what about Richard? At her sister's graduation celebration, amidst the clamor of joy, Richard suddenly stood up, eyes fierce and unwavering. He declared his love for her, a proposal rising like the morning sun over the horizon. There it was, a passionate moment shimmering with potential and hope. A wedding unfold. Yet as they launched Code from the Heart, aimed at uplifting underprivileged youth, challenges arose. Shadows appeared where dreams were meant to flourish. Would Valentina and Richard's ambitions survive the tempest of doubt looming over them? Or would their dreams dissolve like sugar in water? Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. As the joyous murmur of the wedding celebration enveloped them, Valentina felt a straw. The words, "I love you," lingered, sparkling like stars in a night sky. They had built something beautiful together. Yet deep inside her, doubts festered. What if she was just another project for him? A code to crack? Suddenly, the lights flickered, dimming as if the universe held its breath. A hush swept over the crowd like a wave. Richard's smile faded, his gaze fixed on the screen behind him. A shadow blurred the projector's glow. The room felt suddenly tight, the air heavy with uncertainty. And then, chaos unleashed itself like a firestorm. The screen erupted with images, dark, blurry snapshots, faces twisted in anguish. Everywhere Valentina looked. Each frame was more haunting than the last. Her heart dropped. It wasn't just random images. Snippets of news reports flashed. Corruption in tech giant. Whistleblower exposed. The crowd gasped in unison. What's happening? Mia's voice trembled at Valentina's side. Richard's face turned ashen. No, this can't be. He looked to Valentina, eyes wide, searching her expression. Panic gripped her. Had he known? But before she could decipher Richard's look, the screen shifted again. An in-depth investigative piece rolled into view, exposing a hidden world of deceit and betrayal. Names were named. Richard's name was among them, alongside whispers of embezzlement and cover-ups. Valentina's breath hitched. The ground felt like it was crumbling beneath her. Hear me out! Richard's voice cut through the murmurs like a knife. He stepped into the light, attempting to regain control. This is a smear campaign. The crowd turned icy. Whispers spiraled into accusations, confusion blending with disbelief. Faces she recognized, twisted in shock. Liar! Someone shouted. Murmurs of betrayal danced through the guests, slicing through Valentina like shards of glass. Is this true? Mia's eyes flicked back and forth between Valentina and Richard. The question hung heavy, its gravity palpable. Valentina felt tears prick her eyes. Every moment they shared felt like a mirage. Richard. The betrayal tasted bitter on her tongue as she searched for truth in his gaze. What have you done? Let me explain, he pleaded desperately, his voice rising. I can fix this. You have to believe me. Everything shifted. The glint of love that once filled the room dimmed, replaced by shadows of betrayal. Richard's outstretched hand fell limply by his side, desperation leaking through his brave facade. They weren't fighting for their dreams anymore. They were drowning in a sea of shattered trust. Valentina's heart shattered. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a mirror reflecting the fragility of their world. She felt lost in a storm. the golden scholarship, the dreams they whispered about. It all felt so far away. And then the biggest shock of all crashed in. An official stepped forward, badge gleaming, voice firm. "Richard Carter, you are under arrest for fraud and conspiracy." The words struck like a hammer, leaving the crowd reeling. Gasps erupted. Some started to pull out their phones, filming reality unraveling before their eyes. As Richard stumbled back, a haunting realization quenched the flicker of hope Valentina had held. She was not just losing him, she was losing everything. What remained now in this chaotic void? The unraveling had begun, but what lay beneath all of this? Was he a villain beneath a charming smile? Or were there darker forces at play? The questions lingered, heavy with uncertainty, as Valentina stood alone, grappling with a night that promised dreams only to blanket her in shadows. As the tumult of Richard's arrest echoed through the room, Valentina felt the ground shift beneath her. Her heart raced, fear gripping her throat. She could hear whispers of betrayal. The crowd's expressions shifting from shock to outrage. Mia clutched her arm, eyes wide with confusion. Richard stood in front of them, his face a mask of panic. "You have to believe me, Valentina!" he shouted, desperation lacing his words. But the crowd was no longer listening. Voices rose, angry accusations filling the air. Then, as if conjured by the storm of emotions swirling around them, a figure burst through the doors, dressed in a well-tailored suit that seemed to radiate authority. The man strode forward with an air of determination. All eyes turned to him as he raised a hand to silence the growing uproar. "Enough!" he barked. Valentina squinted, trying to place him. Familiar, but from where? Just as he reached the center of the room, he turned to the screen that now displayed Richard's shameful headline in flashing letters. "Richard Carter, the fraud you all think he is, isn't who he seems." The crowd gasped, confusion twisting their features. "This is a setup." He glanced to Valentina, then back to the audience. "I know, because I was the one who set it up." The room froze. The man crossed his arms, a sly smile creeping onto his lips. "You thought I was out of the game, didn't you? But this is my grand comeback." Uncertainty danced through Valentina's mind. Who was this man? "Mason Markham," Mia exclaimed, her voice breaking the eerie silence. "You're the last person anyone expected to see here." "Yes, dear niece. Surprise, surprise." His tone dripped with mockery as he confronted Richard. "You remember me, don't you? The one you thought you could outsmart in business deals? Seems you got a little too cocky." Valentina's heart raced again, pounding louder in her chest. Mason had always been a ghost in the shadows of Richard's success. He had been let go after a scandal, dismissed but not forgotten. And now, here he was, wielding a chaotic power that threatened to unravel everything. "Why are you doing this?" Richard shouted, heat rising in his cheeks. Mason laughed, a cold, jolting sound. "Because you took everything from me. Now I'm taking it all back." He pointed a finger. "And you, Valentina, will help me." Valentina faltered, confusion clawing at her insides. "Help you? Why would I help you?" But the confidence in Mason's eyes sent shivers down her spine. You're wiser than you know. You cracked the code at the party, remember? I need someone who can see through the chaos. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Come with me, and I'll show you how to play the game. Richard's expression twisted with fury. Fury mixed with something darker, perhaps fear. Don't listen to him, Valentina. He's the reason I fought tooth and nail to build this company. Look where that's gotten you. Mason sneered, gesturing toward the crowd that looked ready to descend into chaos. A disaster. They'll turn on you too, given the chance. In that moment, everything hung in the balance. Valentina's heart raced as if it were keeping a secret. She felt the weight of choices pressing down upon her. What was truth and what was deception? Richard, who she admired, or Mason, who was a ghost from the shadows? The crowd buzzed with uncertainty, voices rising again, each containing shards of suspicion and anger. Get him out of here, someone yelled. Valentina stood torn between two worlds, doubt gnawing at her. The future was murky, filled with unpredictable turns. A light flickered on the projector again, flashing images of the truth mingled with lies. It didn't only reveal chaos, it whispered of power struggles, hidden agendas, and veiled alliances. What did it all mean? And who could she trust? Just then, Valentina could feel the splitting tension in the air. Everything about to explode. The wedding dreams? They felt so far away, lost in a murky haze. Mia, she called, but her voice felt small in the uproar. Was this a nightmare they were living? With heavy breaths, Valentina hesitated, and then it hit her. Mason Markham's eyes filled with something more than cold ambition. Was that longing? Desperation? Or fear? Reality twisted and turned. Deep secrets loom. And Valentina felt like a pawn in a game she was only beginning to understand. The clock was ticking, and the questions swelled. Who was truly standing beside her? And what were the real stakes hiding in the shadows? As the storm of uncertainty continued to swirl around her, Valentina felt the weight of every eye in the room. Mason's words echoed in her mind, but they seemed only to deepen the shadows around her heart. "Help me?" she whispered, her voice quivering. The crowd remained tense, hanging on to the unfolding drama. Richard's gaze burned into her, pleading, "Valentina, don't listen to him! He's manipulating you!" Panic tinged his voice, desperation causing his hands to clench at his sides. But just as Mason opened his mouth to counter Richard's claims, another figure emerged from the crowd, a woman with fierce determination in her stride. Valentina squinted, recognizing her instantly. It was Sarah, Richard's former business partner, once a powerful force in Carter Tech. The room quieted, drawn to her confident presence. "I have proof of Mason's treachery," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. Pulling out her phone, Mason's eyes widened, a flicker of fear crossing his face momentarily. "You don't know what you're getting into, Sarah," he shot back, a desperate edge creeping into his voice. The tension thickened as Sarah held the phone high, revealing a video. The image flickered to life, filling the screen with chaos. Shots of Richard and Mason arguing surged forth, their heated exchanges revealing Not tests of business acumen, but hidden alliances, a pact made in shadows, a deception that ran deeper than. The crowd gasped collectively, voices rising as whispers of betrayal erupted around them. "They were in this together!" someone shouted, throwing Valentina into a whirlwind of confusion. Her vision blurred as snippets of their past meetings took shape, Richard's face morphing from a beacon of hope to a figure wrapped in deceit. Mason regained some of his composure, eyes gleaming with malice. "Oh, Sarah, you really think this changes anything?" he sneered. "You think they'll believe you over me?" But before Sarah could respond, the scene shifted again, and one face broke through the chaos on screen. Valentina's own visage, captured in a moment of vulnerability, displaying her fears and dreams for the future. The audience fell silent, each breath held tight as the video continued, revealing snippets of conversations. The truth crashed like a wave, pushing Valentina deeper into turmoil. "I can't believe it. She was meant to be the pawn." Mason's laughter rang hollow. "You think I needed her help? But she's nothing. A housekeeper." Valentina's breath hitched in her throat. Stunned, she took a step back, feeling like the ground had fallen away beneath her. The hurt, the sting of the betrayal, seeped through her. How could they reduce her to just a role in their narrative? "I trusted you," she shouted, voice trembling with emotion. "You let me think I mattered?" Richard, caught off guard, struggled to maintain his facade. "No, Valentina, But the crowd shifted again, brows furrowed, anger boiling beneath the surface. "You both lied to us," someone shouted, a wave of fury roiling. Everything seemed to disintegrate. The truth about their entangled lives, the deceit and betrayal, created cracks that widened. Then a blaring siren pierced the air, cutting through the upheaval of voices. Lights flickered as a police car skidded to a halt outside, blue and red colors reflecting off the glass walls, painting the scene with chaos. In that instant, the crowd erupted, everyone moving in frantic attempts to flee, panicked whispers filling the room. Valentina faltered, eyes darting between Richard, Mason, and Sarah. She felt stranded at the center of a storm, reality shifting like quicksand. Was Mason truly the villain in this story? Or was there a secret, worse than betrayal, lingering just beyond their reach? But then, just as she grasped for clarity, the unexpected happened. A loud crash shattered the front doors as two officers rushed in, their faces grim. "Everyone, stay where you are!" one barked, raising his hands in command. "We're looking for someone." The air thickened with suspense. Who were they looking for? And why was Valentina's heart pounding with a strange sense of recognition? The truth felt close, dancing at the edges of her understanding. As the crowd froze, searching, waiting, Valentina's eyes widened. She suddenly caught a glimpse of someone lurking in the shadows by the exit, hurt deep in their gaze. As the police moved closer, she felt the world shatter around her. Who had come for her and what awaited? The answers veered into the unknown, leaving her trembling in uncertainty. The weight of every revelation spinning wildly out of control. As the police rushed into the room, the air thickened with tension. Valentina's heart raced, and her body felt like it was trembling on the edge of a razor. She caught a glimpse of that shadow retreating, but her attention snapped back to Richard, his face a tapestry of fear, anger, and desperation. Mia clung tightly to her arm, wide-eyed and trembling. "Get him out of here!" a voice shouted from the crowd, piercing through the chaos. The crowd was alive with confusion. Valentina's thoughts tangled like strings of an unraveling ball. Why was this happening? Who was the real enemy? But Mason, still smirking, seemed to relish the chaos. "You think you can stop me?" he taunted, confidence radiating from him. "You have no idea what's really going on." A sudden noise stopped her thoughts. The door crashed open, even louder than the sirens outside. A figure stormed in, his eyes blazing, and instantly the room fell silent in disbelief. It was Leo, Valentina's estranged brother, the last person she expected to see there. "Leo?" Valentina's voice barely escaped her lips. The air crackled with confusion. "What are you doing here?" "Valentina, listen to me!" Leo shouted, pushing through the crowd, eyes frenzied and wild. "I came to warn you about Richard." "What?" The word escaped before she could hold it back. Richard turned toward Leo, his expression darkening, and Valentina felt a wave of panic wash over her. What was happening? "Richard is not who you think he is. He's been—" But before Leo could finish his thought, Mason seized the moment. "Ha! That's rich! From the brother who vanished and left her to fend for herself?" He laughed, a nasty sound that echoed through the hall. "What a family reunion!" Valentina flinched, anger and confusion swirling. "Leo, what do you mean?" In the midst of the crowd's murmuring, Leo pressed forward, his voice urgent. "I've been following the trail, Valentina. He's involved in something big, something dangerous. They'll blame you next. You're caught in the middle." Richard's face was a mask of fury. "This is absurd!" he yelled, but the fear in his eyes betrayed him. "Leo, you don't know anything." Just then the lights flickered again. The projector behind them blared back to life, but this time it showcased more than images of betrayal. It unveiled a network of deceit that was far grander than Valentina could have imagined. Names began flashing across the screen. Prominent investors, government officials, and her name appeared too. Valentina felt her stomach drop. "Not just a housekeeper anymore, huh?" Mason sneered. "Looks like you're about to be part of the family business." "Shut it!" Richard shouted back, his voice breaking. "This isn't true." But it was too late. The whispers of accusation enveloped Valentina. She felt exposed, trapped in a web not of her making. The crowd, once friends and colleagues, now viewed her through the lens of suspicion. "You!" Leo pointed at Richard, a finger trembling with rage. "You manipulated her, played her. You both did." As the tension escalated, the crowd drew closer, voices rising, filled with disbelief. "This can't be happening," someone gasped. And then, amid all that chaos, reality shattered with a single devastating revelation. Leo turned to Valentina, taking her hands, desperation etched in his features. "Valentina, I'm sorry, but I have to tell you the truth. Your parents, they weren't just ordinary people." She blinked, breath caught in her throat. "What was he saying?" "What do you mean?" "Your mother. She was an insider." Leo's voice trembled, darkness flickering in his gaze. And Richard, he's connected to everything. You're in deeper than you know. The world spun. Valentina felt the ground slip beneath her as shock pierced her heart. This couldn't be real. Richard? An insider? But before she could process, the police stepped forward, their eyes cold and determined. "Everyone, remain calm," one of the officers called out. "We have an arrest warrant for Richard Carter and Associates. Move aside." Richard gasped, but there was something else behind his fear. A glimmer of knowledge lurking in his expression, a truth he was hiding. The tension clawed at Valentina as she took a step back. "Valentina, wait!" Richard shouted, his voice cracking. "It's not what you think!" But the room was closing in. She held onto Leo's gaze, torn between love and betrayal. Did she trust him or the man she thought she loved? As chaos erupted anew around them, one question echoed louder than any noise. Had she ever known the truth at all? As chaos erupted around them, Valentina stood frozen, her heart pounding. Richard, desperate in his panic, reached for her. "Valentina, please don't listen to him." But the noise closed in. The crowd buzzed with outrage and disbelief. Leo's presence, once a source of comfort, now felt like a knife twisting in her gut. How had everything spiraled so far beyond her control? The screen behind them flashed images that felt like a foreboding specter creeping into her mind. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, dimming the room. A chill skittered down her spine. The crowd quieted, breaths held tight, waiting for something to break. Valentina glanced around. Her gaze fell on Mia, whose wide eyes mirrored her own confusion. But it wasn't just the chaos of the night that brought fear. Something darker loomed, lurking. Just then, the projector whirred and then crackled. A familiar face appeared. It was Mara, Valentina's late mother. Her presence unleashed a wave of gasps from the crowd. The woman on screen looked young, vibrant, but there was a starkness in her eyes, something pressing. Mara began speaking, a video recorded long before Valentina had even known. "Valentina, if you ever hear this," her voice cut through the confusion, growing clearer despite the chaos around. "There are things I kept hidden, truths that weigh heavily." Valentina's breath quickened. "What is happening?" she whispered, stepping forward. Richard's face twisted in horror. "No, turn it off!" he roared, but the voice continued, resonating through the vulnerable atmosphere. Mara's image looked intently at Valentina. "You think you're just a housekeeper, dear? No, you are so much more. The world you stepped into has layers and secrets. You're part of it all." As she spoke, signatures flashed across the screen, transforming into contracts and agreements. A world Valentina had never seen. Among the names, her mother's stood prominent. But Richard's was there too. In secret dealings, discussions of power and control. Her heart raced, a desperate rhythm in response to the truth colliding with reality. "Valentina," Mara continued, "the tech world is plagued with darkness. You must be careful. Richard has connections far beyond what you know. He is just the surface of something vast." Richard's face blanched, eyes wild as he lurched forward. "This is all a lie!" he shouted. But the crowd's suspicion deepened. The tangle of lies and half-truths began tightening around him, twisting their perception of who he was. Then, with a sudden bang, the front door slammed open again. Two officers pushed inside, their expressions grave. "We have a possible suspect here," one yelled, pointing straight at Leo. "Step forward." Valentina's heart sank as Leo raised his hands, disbelief painted across his features. "What? No, I was trying to help." But the police continued to advance, tightening their grip around the truth. And just like that, everything exploded. Mason lunged forward, a feral grin on his face. "This was the plan all along," he shouted. "You thought you were safe? This was never about just Richard, Valentina. It's about power. You're caught in a game much bigger." Valentina's pulse quickened as the pieces fell together in a horrifying puzzle. Was Leo really trying to protect her? Or was he simply another player in this twisted game? Then, the ultimate twist sliced through her thoughts like a blade. Amidst the chaos, one of the officers turned to Richard, his expression shifting into one of shadowy recognition. "You shouldn't underestimate her, Carter," he muttered, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "She's not just a pawn, she's the queen." Valentina felt the floor drop out from beneath her, as everything she thought she knew shattered. Who was she really? Who could she trust? The questions spiraled in her mind, each one heavy with the weight of uncertainty. What was happening next in this tangled mess? She stood on the precipice of revelations, but all she felt was panic. What did this mean for her? For everything? As the tension thickened, she realized with dawning horror. The real game had just begun. As the officers advanced, Valentina's stomach churned. Mason's sneer made her skin crawl, but Richard's torment was worse. Was he the true villain, or just another pawn in this game? Her heart collided with chaos, each pulse drumming with uncertainty. "Valentina!" Richard shouted again, desperation clawing in his voice. "I can explain!" But Leo has stepped in front of her, hands raised, urgency dragging at every word. "You need to trust me. You don't know what he's capable of." The crowd shifted, hearts skipping, breaths held tight. Something crackled in the air, an electric tension running through everyone. But Valentina's mind was swirling. She had to make sense of all the lies and half-truths wrapping around her like a thick fog. "Mason, what do you want?" Richard's voice trembled, anger simmering over loud whispers floating through the crowd. Shadows danced across their faces as lights flickered again. And then, in a heartbeat, it happened. A loud crash echoed through the room. The front doors burst open, and another group of people rushed in, this time dressed in black. They were a mix of men and women, faces steely, eyes focused, as they immediately scanned the chaos. "Get on the ground! Now!" one barked, voice sharp as a knife. Panic erupted. People dove for cover, scrambling to avoid the unexpected force. But Valentina froze. She felt her heart drop as instinct kicked in. These were no ordinary police. They were too precise, too cold. "Not again!" Leo shouted as he dove protectively in front of her, shielding her from view. Richard's expression twisted into one of horror as recognition dawned in his eyes. "That's," he gasped, "they're federal agents! Why are they here?" As if responding to his question, the lead agent turned toward Richard. "We're on to you," he declared, voice low but fierce. "You think you can hide behind your cutthroat games? We've got evidence." Valentina's heart raced. This was escalating far too fast. Were they really after Richard? Or was there something more brewing beneath the surface, something yet to be uncovered? Just then, the projector flickered again, revealing not just images, but an endless stream of documents, contracts, names, dollar amounts scrolling in a cascade of treachery. And then came the shocking jolt, the final piece. The images stopped, landing on a photo of Valentina herself, her name redacted but clearly visible beneath layers of deceit. "What?" she gasped, eyes wide. Her world tilted sideways as the agent continued. "You've been at the center of this all along, haven't you?" Richard's gaze shifted from Valentina to the agent's, panic drawing lines across his features. "No, you can't!" But just as the tension shot sky high, an explosion rocked the building. The walls shook, glass shattered, and everything spun into chaos. People screamed, shouting for cover, while smoke filled the air. Valentina gasped for breath, her heart racing, limbs moving on instinct. "Mia!" she shouted, her voice swallowed by the chaos. Her niece's terrified face flickered into view for a moment before disappearing again into the haze. Then, above the chaos, a figure appeared, Mason, a twisted smile on his face, and he uttered words that ripped them all to shreds. "You thought you could escape? This was all part of the plan. I didn't just want Richard's empire. I wanted you." Every sense sharpened in shock. The betrayal pierced through the air like an arrow. Had Mason engineered this chaos, playing everyone like puppets? Valentina's world shattered all over again. In that storm of noise and fear, her mind whirled with questions. Why was she part of Mason's plan? What truths lay hidden beneath layers of manipulation? As clouds of smoke spiraled around them, a terrible realization loomed. The game had just changed, and Valentina was the queen, being thrust into a fight she never asked for. And just like that, she felt lost in a labyrinth of lies, uncertainty crushing down like a weight she could no longer bear. Who was truly on her side? What did the future hold when everything seemed so dark and twisted? As the smoke spiraled around them, the room pulsed with chaos. Valentina's heart pounded, each beat a desperate reminder of how quickly everything had spiraled out of control. The federal agents stood firm, faces set, ready for anything. Richard's pleading eyes burned into hers. "You have to trust me. I wasn't." But before he could finish, the sound of shattering glass ricocheted through the atmosphere, silencing their words. The entire crowd flinched. Suddenly, the lights flickered wildly as the projector displayed a new image. A photo appeared, and for a brief moment, confusion stopped them all in their tracks. Valentina squinted. It was her mother, but not just any photo. It was of her in a secret meeting, surrounded by shadowy figures. The words, "classified footage," scrolled beneath like a warning. Valentina felt her legs weaken. This can't be real. The image morphed again. A dark room lit by a single flickering light. Mara stood there, whispering in hushed tones, her expression a mixture of fear and confidence. "You have to trust me, Valentina. We're in this together." An electric jolt ran through Valentina. This was her mother speaking to her, as if she were right there. "Together?" she whispered to herself. The crowd was in stunned silence, eyes glued to the screen, faces wide with disbelief. Then, the earth-shattering twist crashed in. Suddenly, the door behind her burst open again, and another figure rushed in. Dressed impeccably in a black suit, with a demeanor of unwavering authority, he strolled toward the front. The crowd parted. Valentina's breath caught in her throat. It was her father, Daniel, the very man she believed was gone for good. "Dad?" Her voice cracked, emotion flooding her every word. "But you died, I saw." "No, Valentina, I did what I had to do," Daniel replied, eyes glassy with pain. "They were coming for us. I had to protect you. But now it's too late." Confusion wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, tears threatening to spill. "You left me." "I was trying to keep you safe," he barked, anger flaring for only a moment, but melting back into despair. "They've been watching you for years. Mason's part of a greater plan. It's not just about Richard. They want everything." Mason pushed through the crowd, laughter echoing like broken glass. "What a lovely little family reunion. But it doesn't change the game. You're all expendable." Gasps erupted from the crowd as chaos surged again. The agents moved forward, hands reaching for their sidearms. Tension building. Valentina felt the dull weight of betrayal crash into her. Was Mason telling the truth? The screams became louder, voices overlapping, but one cry pierced through the noise. "We've got to escape!" Leo shouted, his eyes flaring with urgency. In that moment, it hit Valentina like a brick. "No! This is bigger than any of us!" she screamed, panic tightening her chest. "All these years, all the lies!" Daniel stepped closer, desperation in his voice. "You need to come with me, Valentina. I can explain everything. This place isn't safe." But before she could answer, the projector flickered once more. Shadows of her own face filled the screen, intertwined with images of betrayal, a facade shattered. "I can't trust anyone," she whispered, overwhelmed. As panic spiraled, Richard reached out again, his voice raw. "Please, Valentina, don't let him manipulate you." But everything was crashing down. The lights wobbled. The smoke grew thicker, muffling the world around them. The questions kept mounting, each one sharper than the last. Who was really telling the truth? And who had been lying the whole time? As the crowd erupted into chaos, Valentina felt the knot in her chest tighten. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown. With one final look at her family, she turned and sprinted toward the exit, desperate to break free from the chaos, not knowing who or what was hunting her. Nothing felt real anymore. The question loomed as shadows swallowed the room. Was the game already over, or was this just the beginning? Valentina bolted towards the exit, heart racing. The smoke wrapped around her like a shroud, choking her thoughts. She could barely see through the haze as her footsteps thundered against the polished floor. The chaos behind her felt like a storm, voices crying in panic. But all she could think was escape. "Mia!" she shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. Each breath stung, thick with the smell of fear and uncertainty. She was lost in the whirlwind of voices, floating through her thoughts. Should she turn back? Richard was yelling her name, but she pushed forward, determined to break the cycle of distrust enveloping her. The crowd surged like a wave, and Valentina stumbled. Those flashes of anger and betrayal overwhelmed her. She caught sight of Leo, his eyes blazing with urgency. "Valentina, we have to go, now!" He pulled her arm, and she felt a flicker of safety, a brief glimmer of hope in the chaos. But just as they reached the doorway, the light above flickered violently, and the air turned electric. Then, with a resounding crack, the screen behind them exploded, sending shards of glass raining down like deadly confetti. Time slowed. Then came the voices, disembodied and clear, echoing from the ruined screen. It's about legacy, our legacy. Valentina's heart dropped like a stone. That voice, her mother's voice, coming from the projection. The video had shifted, revealing a chilling scene she never expected. Images began flashing, families, homes, beloved places, and each image held one common thread: Valentina herself, captured with her mother, shadows lurking behind them. "You're part of something bigger than you know," Mara's voice continued, resonating with urgency. "Valentina!" Richard roared, panic thick in his voice. "Do you hear that? It's a setup!" But the images continued, revealing the truth Valentina had been too scared to face. A network of people emerged, charismatic faces she recognized from her past, each one connected by unseen strings. Friends, colleagues, even family members, all entangled in a sinister web. "No!" Valentina gasped, shock coursing through her veins. She felt like the ground was disappearing beneath her. "This can't be happening!" "Trust me, Valentina, we can expose this, together!" Leo pleaded, desperation tightening his grip on her arm. But just as she was about to respond, the lights flickered one last time, plunging them into darkness. Silence engulfed the room. Then, with a sudden surge, the lights burst back on, and there she stood, the last figure Valentina expected to see. It was Mia, her niece, standing defiantly in the doorway. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice steady. "I know the truth!" What? Valentina's heart sank. This couldn't be real. What did Mia know? "You're not what they think you are, Valentina!" Mia's brave words sparked confusion in the crowd. "And neither is Richard!" A hushed tension thickened the air, suspending time for a heartbeat. "What do you mean?" Valentina managed, shaky hands holding on to Leo for support. Mia stepped forward, her expression fierce. "You're not just a housekeeper. You're tied to this all more intimately than anyone knew. It's in your blood." Those words crashed over Valentina like a wave, leaving her breathless. "What are you talking about? Mia, please!" she cried. But the truth felt heavy, pressing down with an urgency she couldn't ignore. Suddenly, the screen flashed one final image, the family tree blowing up across the wall, a lineage of power and connections, revealing names she'd never connected to her own. The shock settled in her bones like ice. Your father, your mother. This isn't just about Richard or Mason. It's about a legacy that spans generations, Mia announced, voice firm, unwavering in a storm of chaos and suspicion. Valentina's breath hitched. Everything she thought she knew twisted into something new. The nagging question building within her was louder than any whisper. Who am I? And in that moment, everything changed. The walls closed in, the truth barreling toward her like a freight train. The faces of her family shone in stark contrast. The good, the bad, and the utterly shocking. What had she become? And what more lay hidden, waiting to be unveiled? The air crackled with uncertainty as Valentina stood on the brink, ready to dive deeper into a darkness she hadn't even started to understand. The crowd was still, faces reflecting shock and confusion as Mia's words hung in the air. Valentina felt the tension, a tightness in her chest. What do you mean, Mia? She tried to steady her trembling hands, but the fear clawed at her. This isn't only about Richard or Mason, Mia pressed, her voice unwavering. It's about us, our family, the legacy that's been fighting to break through. As Mia's words pierced through the haze, her mother's image flickered on the screen, revealing hidden truths. Valentina's heart raced. This was it. The moment everything shifted. What do I have to do? She whispered, the weight of it all pressing down. Suddenly, Richard stepped forward, desperation etched on his face. Valentina, don't listen to him. The fear in his voice twisted her stomach. He wants to control you. But it was too late. The room cracked with tension. The federal agents tightened their grip, and Valentina felt the pull of her own blood, her family, around her. They were all caught in Mason's wicked game, and this was the tipping point. Enough, Leo thundered, stepping between Richard and Valentina. We can't let him win. We have to expose the truth. Valentina nodded, her heart racing. She took a deep breath, every thought swirling. Mia, what do we need to do? Trust in each other and stand together. We're not just pawns. We are the legacy, Mia declared, her courage igniting something within Valentina. And in that moment, Valentina felt a surge, like the air had shifted. She faced Richard and Mason, determined. I will no longer be a part of your game. You can't manipulate me any longer. Get her! Mason bellowed, a flicker of rage flashing in his eyes. But the agents surged forward, creating a barrier. Enough! They shouted, order cutting through the chaos. Everyone stay where you are. Valentina felt the tide turning, darkness fading. Just as the agents began arresting Richard and Mason, her mother's image dissolved into the shadows, but her voice remained strong. Fight for the truth, Valentina. And so, Valentina stepped forward, taking charge. You can't control us. We will reveal it all. She felt the warmth of Leo's hand on her shoulder, and Mia beside her. The crowd gave a gentle murmur, a growing energy of support, unity forming. Richard's face twisted, caught between fury and regret. You'll regret this, Valentina. But it no longer held the same weight. Mason laughed, but his mirth felt forced. The agents restrained him, preparing to take them away. Justice was finally catching up. As Valentina watched the scene unfold, a warmth surged inside her. Her family, her legacy would not be erased. Together, they had cobbled a new path of strength. And it felt undeniably right. Eventually, the chaos settled. The air felt cooler, the smoke clearing. Valentina turned to Mia and Leo, eyes glistening. We did it, she breathed, relief washing over her. A hopeful smile broke across Mia's face. Yes, we did, she replied, the weight of the world suddenly lighter. And in that moment, as Valentina embraced her connection to her family, she realized this was just the beginning of a new chapter. The truth would keep fighting to rise. There was still so much to uncover. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught the flicker of the projector, remnants of a world yet to fully reveal itself. What other secrets remained hidden? What other truths waited in the shadows? You need to know. You must subscribe now so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming your way. Press the like button right now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about everything that just happened. And don't wait 1 second longer to share this with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Your support means everything, so show it.